Hello and welcome to this interview in the Epic Changemakers video series. And I'm really excited to sit here with Maureen Metcalf today. Uh, she's I got to know her in Seattle, and she's just a woman, and the way she really is passionate about creating a better world through leadership development and changing the way companies um, do their business to actually help them create a better world and have a more profitable, thrivable company. It's really inspiring. So, thanks, Maureen, for joining us here today.
Thanks, Heine. It's my honor to get to hang out with you.
Cool. So, did I capture what you're up to?
You did. Yeah, it seems that my life has been dedicated at least the last probably, 20 years or so to working in an organizational setting, either for-profit, nonprofit, or university. And for at least the last decade, in hardcore transformation, um, so the juxtaposition of transformation and leadership, and helping leaders do what they need to do as leaders to transform their organization, and also working with a lot of the teams that are implementing the changes.
Cool. So, it sounds really enticing to hear more about the leadership development stuff. Um,
Okay.
so, what's the transformation that they need to go through? What do you see out there?
I see people who took leadership roles, again, varying numbers of years ago. Um, some of them only a couple years, some of them are brand new, and some of them have been leaders for 25 or 30 years. And especially those long tenure leaders, um, so often they've been working so hard to get the work done that they really haven't attended to updating the way they lead. They've just been doing the work. And for many of the new leaders, they're in roles of leadership but haven't had formal education about what leadership is and how to be effective. And for many of them, they also haven't had fabulous mentors or any mentors. So they're in a new role, kind of learning as they go. And if they're in a healthy environment, they learn great skills. And if they're in a less than healthy or optimal environment, they're not. And while there are a lot of books available teaching or talking about leadership, um, not all books fit all people in all settings, right? So there are some books that talk about a military leadership style, and that's appropriate for some places, but I certainly wouldn't go to Google or Yahoo and try to use a militaristic style. So how do we help our leaders really understand the context in which they operate, um, and what good leadership skills are in different settings throughout their lives? So my work is helping them understand themselves, assess the environment, and really be able to have a broad range of a broad repertoire of skills, and then they can pull from everything they know to apply to any given setting.
Mm. Sounds like there's a lot of different um, ways to lead them into this and to help them through this transformation. There seems to be a lot of different ways to operate. And what's your uh, what's your favorite? What's your favorite transformation to help the leaders through?
I love working with people who are already successful. They're implementing an interesting and challenging change that'll move their organization forward. And the best leaders recognize that with this change, they also need to change how they lead. To be part of that process, I feel really fortunate. It's an honor to be with people who are open and willing to change, even when they know it's going to be a pretty tough process.
Mm-hmm. All right, so open and willing to change, even if it's gonna hurt a little bit.
Or hurt a lot
Or
in
hurt a
some cases.
lot.
Sound like the voice of optimism. I mean, there are things we give up about how we see ourselves as we change our organization, right? Like, I have to give up that I'm going to have all the answers. Not terribly realistic in this environment. Um, and yet, many of us were taught as leaders that we're the ones folks go to when something is up. And how do I let go of that? And how do I work with people to make sure we're both changing at the same rate? Because I certainly don't want to let go of being the one with the answers and then have no one with the answers, right? So, um, and usually that's not the case. Usually the team is quite ready to take on more responsibility.
All right, so if we move into a little more personal, so what is the question I ask everybody on these interviews is what is the most useful insight, wisdom, tool that has really brought you to become, it's been really important, most important to you as a change maker?
I'm kind of a big fan of theory. So there are a couple tools slash theories that I have leaned heavily on, and at this point I've published 5 books and teach in an MBA program, and all these 2 tools pervade everything I've done. One is the integral framework from Ken Wilber, and while Ken has written over 30 books, there's one image out of all of those that has so resonated with me, and that's the integral quadrant framework, where I look at my inner values and how those drive my behavior, the organization's culture, and systems and processes. And so as I'm working with clients and working with myself, um, the realization that as consultants, we often change what happens in the system and process space, and we don't necessarily attend to the conflicts that creates in the culture or in the leaders, right? So an example is I worked with an organization who was implementing an enterprise software system. So 36 companies now being tied together by the same computer system. On the surface, that seems entirely reasonable. And yet when these companies, the 36 locations were 36 separate companies, and most of those had been operating as very independent organizations even after being acquired. So the idea that home office can see everything they do and intervene um, was against the culture that was established. And so while the system may have worked fine, I know of several instances, none that I've worked on personally, where they got halfway through a multi-million-dollar implementation, in some cases hundreds of millions, and they stop because the culture stopped the progress, even though the system itself was fine. So as leaders, there's a strong invitation to attend to the entire system, not just the computer and process systems. The second framework comes out of developmental psychology. So for folks who have read the book Good to Great, the term level 5 leadership. So the idea that we have personality types and those remain relatively consistent throughout our lives. And yet as leaders, we go, so that would be the horizontal. And then there's a vertical trajectory that's developmental in nature, that irrespective of my personality type, I can, with effort, continue to become more mature in my leadership. And that maturity looks like more complex thinking, more emotionally aware, and behaving more situationally appropriately. That explained so much to me about how I can do the same thing with a broad range of people, and they react terribly differently. And otherwise, it just seems like a black box. These darn people are so confusing. And people are still complex, but having frameworks of understanding type and level, or really helped me become significantly more effective as a consultant and coach, and also has helped me significantly with um, both the transformations I lead and working with clients and helping them become more effective. It really felt like it was, um, in my life, answering one of the big questions of, it seems like we did everything right, but sometimes it still doesn't work. So, with regard to leading change, right? We had a work plan, and we followed the work plan, and we stayed within budget. And last time we did this, it worked, and wow, this time not so much. Um, Understanding the level of the people we're developmental level of the people we're working with, really helped me shape the way we do a change rollout, or helps me shape how I interact with folks in a way that I think has allowed me to be much more effective. And I think also my clients, the leaders of these organizations, has helped them be significantly more effective. So if I were to recommend tools, it would be the integral framework and the developmental framework. And I use the one created by Suzanne Cook-Reuter as part of her doctoral work at Harvard, so well-researched and validated constructs and tools.
These seem to be two really valuable tools. And how, if I said I don't know anything about those tools, like I like to help change organizations. I'd like to work with people on a close basis, and I want to change the structure of how things work. But where do I start? Where do I start to work with this?
Okay, so this is not intended to be self-promotional, but it probably will sound that way. I wrote a couple books because I was teaching graduates. Actually, I wrote several books because I'm teaching in an MBA program, and I wanted to take these really powerful theories and translate them to, or apply them for people working in organizations. So the developmental theory is part of Suzanne's doctoral research. Terry O'Fallon's written several papers. For most of the clients with whom I work, they don't want doctoral dissertations and theoretical papers. They want 5 pages that gives them enough that they can apply it, and they don't want to be experts in the theory. They want to be experts in their jobs. So what I tried to do in those books, and there are also free papers on my website and some webinars and interviews that give a touch into what it is. So the Innovative Leadership Field book talks about how do I as a leader use these tools to be more effective myself. And the Transformation Guidebook is how do I use these tools to transform my organization. And again, my intent was to provide enough theory that it's applicable, but no more.
All right, so it seems like there's a lot of options for where to start. So if you recommend one thing to start for the integral framework and one place to start for the developmental lines, or maybe it's the same.
I'd say on my website I have a free assessment called the Innovative Leadership Assessment. Go out and see how you do on the assessment, and see on the areas where you score lower if there's something that's of interest for you to explore. If so, either pick up one of the books, or on the website there's a tab for publications, and go to free publications and see if there's something there. The story of Jill is in that free publications section, and it's intended to walk through the journey of someone as they develop. It was written collaboratively with one of the women with whom I worked, and is slightly autobiographical for the two of us, and also refers to other clients that with whom we've worked, and kind of pulls together a composite story of someone as they develop. So it's, while we give the bullets of what it means, I think the richness of watching someone's life journey gives a lot more useful information than a bulleted list of qualities.
And how is this connected to creating a better world?
If we do nothing other than become more self-aware and interact with others more effectively and respectfully, we create environments that are significantly more harmonious and consequently more productive, right? If someone understands me, then I can be myself and get my work done. I don't need to spend my time attending to all of the distractions that go along with working with people who don't connect, aren't self-aware, aren't aware of me. Then a lot of my physical and emotional energy just goes into self-protection rather than proactive stepping out, doing the stuff that I'm not going to get right. So I'm taking risks. The world is so complex right now, and the rate of change is high and only going to get higher, that we need everyone to be engaged in a way that we are solving these problems collaboratively. And I can't do that if I'm worrying about what my boss is going to do next or what the guy down the hall is going to do next. So attending to our own complexity of thinking and emotional intelligence really changes the way organizations feel and people feel within organizations, and that feeling drives how we work and how successful our organization is at meeting its mission. And that's kind of why we're there, right? To meet the mission and serve our clients and make the world better.
All right, great. Yeah, thanks a lot. Anything you want to add at the end here?
No, just it has been a pleasure to get to know you, and I appreciate being included in the series. And for people who are interested, I'm assuming you can put a link to the website. Part of our commitment is to make a lot of resources available at no cost, because we do want to help improve the world in which we live and the quality of experience that people have. Because life is hard enough, right? So there's a lot out there for free or very limited cost. And I really encourage you to take advantage of it. If you sign up for something, I try to send a quarterly newsletter, so you will not get daily messages from me trying to harass you to buy stuff. It really is, we share our latest research, and that's about it. So again, thank you, Heine.
Cool. Thank you so much for taking your time and sharing what you know and what's important to you, so others can actually use it and utilize what your wisdom and what you've learned. And also for all the free stuff you're giving away over the website. It's definitely worth going to check out. So if all this conversation was interesting for you, and it must have been if you're still listening, check out, and I'll put a link down below for the assessment and for our webpage. All right.
Thanks.
And if people want to talk to you, how do you contact you?
Either email me at info@metcalf-associates.com, or go to the webpage, and under the contact section, they can reach out to me. And I like hearing from folks, so please do reach out. I get caught up in my work, so I don't respond immediately, but I'll get back to you absolutely as soon as I can. And if you want to give feedback about your experience using the tools, I'd welcome that.
Cool. Great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Heine.